A week and a half ago, I posted this video. Fantastic developer pops off, says the day before is fake. And this one was based on a former Mytona employee who was airing his grievances about his former workplace and also simultaneously raising concerns about Fantastic and the day before based on private DMs he had been receiving from previous and current Fantastic employees. But today, we have an actual news article posted earlier this week using sources within Fantastic, and this one's going to get spicy. Welcome back to the channel. This is LtBuzzLitebeer, and today we're going to be taking a look at a new article posted by 3D News Daily Digital Digest. Now, I've never personally heard of them. We don't get them here in the West, but according to their wiki, they were founded back in 1997 and focus on the IT market, touching on everything from computer game lovers and fashion gadgets to professionals, system engineers, programmers, and overclockers. Now, every month, their site has more than 4.5 million visitors, which view around 14 million pages worth of content. According to SimilarWeb.com, 3D News is the #2 ranked computer hardware site in Russia, and their annual revenue is somewhere between $10 to $15 million. So this isn't some overnight startup. They've been around since the late 90s, and while not the biggest site, they have some sort of track record within this reporting space. So, based on their February 13th article titled "Do It Like Them," the editors of 3D News decided to try to figure out what the real scoop was concerning the day before. And to do this, they got in touch with 3 sources at Fantastic that agreed to speak with them under the protection of staying anonymous, and as you will hear, for good reason. As this article kind of kicks it off, it begins with, let's call it Chapter 1, Life at Fantastic, where new hires are put through some sort of early training and screening before they can ever see the day before, and it is here where they are first introduced to this culture of volunteering. Reading directly from the article, already at the introductory briefing, new employees are introduced to the concept of volunteering, which, according to our sources, in the understanding of Fantastic management, means quote-unquote free overtime. Working hours are not specified in the contract so that claims cannot be made later. One source claims that the staff turnover at Fantastic is high. Layoffs, including scandalous ones, are tried to be instantly hushed up, and you can lose your place in the studio even for the mere thought of a part-time job. The specialist who prepared newcomers to work on the day before, having passed the baton, quit one by one. Now, we've seen this crunch culture discussed throughout the game development landscape for years now, and I've openly spoken out against it. It's obviously wrong on a multitude of levels, and it appears that Fantastic is still embracing this archaic work methodology. But what we haven't really seen broken down is this culture of volunteering within the company, outside of the misrepresentation stated by the co-founders.
Fantastic culture is based on the idea of volunteering. Being a volunteer means that you willingly take part in working for a common cause.
This concept of free overtime pops up several times in the article, how it is deployed for all sorts of emergency reasons, everyone is needed, a new sponsor appears, an unexpected opportunity arises, generous promises are made and not followed through on. The standard scummy practices that workers are all too familiar with these days. Now, it's not openly stated here, but this source's representation of the actual workplace environment kind of flies in direct contrast to how Fantastic has described it in the past. This sounds like volunteers are working directly on the development of games, whereas Fantastic has openly denied that accusation, stating that volunteers are only a part of their community teams and Discord moderator duties. At this point, the article kind of moves forwards away from this culture of work at Fantastic, and here's where 3D News goes hard into the paint with the day before. They start to get particulars from their sources concerning the development of the game itself. Reading from the article, judging by reports from our sources, the mood in the day before team is not the most pleasant. quote-unquote, morale is at zero. An atmosphere of hopelessness and despair is hovering, despite the fact that until very recently the release was announced for March 1st, the development of the game is still in complete chaos. All three informants see the main problem in the lack of clear planning and incompetence of the top of fntastic in all aspects. The day before trademark confusion is not a cover for the transfer, but an example of inept management on the part of the studio's management. Okay, so I've discussed in the past how mismanagement has adversely affected fntastic, especially in this securing the rights to the day before trademark issue, but here within these employee statements, we start to get an even more clear picture of just how widespread this mismanagement truly is, with many key decisions based solely not on expert advice, but on the conclusions and moods of the two co-founders, brothers Edward and Eisen. Quoting from the article, decisions made yesterday can be canceled in the evening of the current day, and the whole course of development can turn around from this. One of our sources describes the brothers' methodology. This also applies to the work done by specific employees, which the next day can go under the knife with the wording, "yes, stupidly." I don't think that quite translated properly from the Russian site to English, but I think you get the gist. This source gave the following example. Less than 2 weeks before the delivery of an important build, the team was told to introduce new mechanics into the game, despite the fact that, due to the fragility of the day before code, this action threatened to break everything that was set up for the build, and also to tear employees away from urgent tasks that needed to be completed. Due to the whims of management, workers have to do things as soon as possible, and when the results don't suit the brothers, they begin to get angry, they raise their voice or use foul language, forgetting that they themselves instructed the employees to do just that. First of all, ordinary employees suffer from all of this. So let's move on to the question of how about those epic trailer sequences and artwork that the community has been so adept at directly placing to other successful games like The Division and SnowRunners. Here it is in the article. As for the recent borrowings from the Call of Duty and The Last of Us, the day before is really created with an eye on Western blockbusters. Quote, "do it like they do," is one of the most frequent requests of the brothers to the team. The brothers agreed to proposals from the outside only if there is supporting material in other AAA games. Okay, so through the use of this article, we've kind of touched on this culture of work at fntastic, and also how the brothers seem to be just directly drawing on Western influence. You saw the quote, "do it like they do," mentioned in the article, but how about that million-dollar question of where does fntastic get all the money for the development of the day before? And how about the validity of the game build itself? Is this real or fake? Well, according to 3D News and their sources, reading from the article, the good news from our conversation with sources is that at least the 40-second and 10-minute videos of the day before published by fntastic at the beginning of the month are quite real, although the thing is, they do not show anything significant. According to informants, most of the elements and mechanics that were shown earlier were made specifically for trailers and not the game itself, while the direct assembly of the day before into something solid started only at the end of 2021 before the release of Prop Night, or early 2022. Now, these next two statements really caught my attention, and you need to listen to every word stated here. One of our informants reports that fntastic management is not thinking about adding anything other than zombies, players, and vendors to the day before. A hired screenwriter, for example, only dealt with lines for merchants. The quest system was supposedly once written, but there is not a single hint of it either in the game code or the game itself. The whistleblower warns that fntastic risks bringing even more negativity to the day before discussions. The studio wants to release the game in its current raw form and bring it to the proper level of quality with patches only after the release. Listen to this from this source. Quote, "I strongly do not recommend buying this." And according to this source, they're not even done yet. Moving on. Announced at the end of January, the postponement of the day before to November 10th, the source says, will not help matters. In its current form, when everything works on crutches, their words directly from that statement, the game will take about a year to develop all the necessary mechanics. About the same amount should be spent on polishing content and gameplay. So if I'm reading this all correctly from their statement there, they still need another year of development and then a second year to spend on polishing content and gameplay elements. That's very interesting. So this game could be possibly 2 years away from being anything close to what we expected. Anyways, moving on, back to the article, this source says, time alone, however, cannot save the day before. fntastic needs to redesign the entire system of work, shovel all the existing code. Now it only complicates the life of the team. So in there, when they say shovel, I think they just need to junk the code and start over. They continue on, stop reworking, or at least start paying for overtime, and change the approach to management. So there's a lot packed into this last little statement here concerning what could potentially happen with the day before, and also the time frame for when we might actually see a polished product hit the market. Moving on, how about that odd Nvidia partnership? The one that I constantly receive comments about, how could Nvidia be partnered with a studio? Well, there is apparently a very important and not disclosed closed playtest for the day before on March the 1st. Coincidence that this is the very same day that the game was set to launch on? I honestly don't know, but I do have my finger firmly set on the F key to doubt. Now, this playtest will decide the future of this cooperation because if successful, it is said that Nvidia will help, quote, restore the reputation of the game. By the way, as of yet, no proper testing has been done so far. So we've got some interesting info hitting us kind of top to bottom in this article. Is it true? If so, how much of it? I don't know. Again, this is a fairly established IT reporting site who apparently got a hold of 3 sources within fntastic for insights into the workplace environment, the management style, and also some interesting particulars concerning the actual development of the day before game. All in all, yeah, not a good picture for fntastic, especially where the day before is currently at, what it has planned or what it doesn't have planned, how bare bones this game sounds like it will be, and how about that interesting statement about the upcoming Nvidia playtest to determine the state of the studio's partnership moving forwards. I mean, that's less than 2 weeks away. As always, I'll link all my sources down in the video description and pinned comments, and I encourage you to check it all out for yourselves. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on all the latest with the day before, and while you're at it, ring the notifications bell to receive all my latest upload alerts. If you could also take a few seconds more to rate and or share this video, it would be greatly appreciated. You can find and follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and over in my community Discord server, links to all of which can be found in the video description and pinned comments below. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer, signing off.